Hey everybody, this is video 5 of chapter 3. We're going to be multiplying matrices today. So multiplying matrices is going to be a little bit different than our addition and subtraction. What we're going to notice is that in order to multiply matrices, okay, we have a very specific situation that has to happen. Okay, so our columns in the first matrix, so columns in the first need to match the rows in the second. Okay, so what that looks like is this. So there are, this matrix is a 2 by 2 matrix. So there's 2 rows, 2 columns. This matrix is a 2 by 3 matrix. So in other words, this and this have to match, okay, in order for them to be able to multiply. So the columns have to match the rows. So in this one, we have 3 rows and 1 column. So this is a 3 by 1. This is a 2 by 2. So in this case, we would not be able to multiply because this and this don't match. Okay? The other thing that we're going to talk about is what your result would be. Okay, so when you figure out that you can multiply these, so we figured out, yes, we can multiply these. Our result is going to be the rows in the first by the columns in the second. So our result would be rows in first by columns in the second. So in other words, for this one, it would be a 2 by 3. Okay, so let's actually get started and do some examples here. Okay, so my first one, I've got 2 matrices. I'm going to first start by listing the dimensions of them. Okay, so this one, there's 2 rows and 2 columns, so this is a 2 by 2. Okay, this one has 2 rows and 2 columns, so this one is a 2 by 2 as well. Okay, so these match, so yes, we can multiply. Okay, my result then is also going to be a 2 by 2. Okay, so your resulting matrix is a different size every single time. Okay, it just depends on what 2 types of matrices you're actually multiplying. Okay, so my result is going to look like this, where there's an A, B, C, D, where there's 4 values in it, 2 by 2. Okay, so to start multiplying, what we're going to do is we're going to take our first row, okay, and we're going to multiply it by the first column. Okay, so here's how we're going to set this up. So we have A, which is in row 1, column 1. B is in row 1, column 2. C is in row 2, column 1. And D is in row 2, column 2. Okay, so that's the 2 things that I'm going to multiply together. Okay, so that's what this is what this looks like. So I'm going to take 2, so this is my row 1 and this is my column 1. So that's going to give me this value right here. So I'm going to take 2 times 4 and I'm going to add the negative 1 times 2. Okay, so here then I'm going to take row 2 and column 1, which is row 2 and column 1. So now I'm going to take the second row times the first column. So that would give me 6 times 4 plus 3 times 2. So I'm kind of taking this row and I'm lining it up next to this column and I'm multiplying the 2 things together. Okay, my next piece is going to be row 1 and column 2. So that's row 1 and column 2. So 2 and negative 3 plus negative 1 and 0. Okay, my next one is row 2, column 2. So row 2 is 6, 3. Column 2 is this. So I'm going to have 6 and negative 3 if I take this row and line it up next, and then 3 and 0. And then finally, you're just simplifying down. So this is 8 plus negative 2, so 6. This is negative 6 plus 0, so negative 6. This is 24 plus 6, so 30. And then negative 18 plus 0, so negative 18. So this is your answer. Okay, let's look at another one here. So let's list the size first. So this is a 2 by 2. This has 2 rows and 1 column, so this is a 2 by 1. So these still match, so yes, we can do it. Our result then is going to be a 2 by 1. So unlike addition and subtraction, they do not have to be the same size. Okay, so let's actually start multiplying these together. So our result is going to be a 2 by 1, meaning 2 rows, 1 column. So it's going to look like this, just an A and a B. Okay, so if I look at my result then, A is in row 1, column 1, B is in row 2, column 1. So I'm going to multiply row 1, which is 8, 3, in column 1. Well, there is only one column. You're always going to use the columns in the second one and the rows in the first one. So I'm going to take 8, 3, and I'm going to line it up next to the 2, 1. So I'm going to take 8 times 2 plus 3 times 1. Okay, so that was this spot. Now I'm going to take row 2 and multiply it by column 1. Okay, so I'm going to take 6, 1 and line it up next to the 2, 1. So that gives me 6 times 2 plus 1 times 1. And then I'm going to simplify that down. So 8 times 2 is 16 plus 3, which gives me 19. This gives me 12 plus 1, so 13. All right, here we have a third problem. We are combining what we did in the last video with what we did here. So I'm going to rewrite 2, 4, negative 5, negative 2. And parentheses tells us we're going to add these two together first, which we can do because they're the same size. So that now gives us 3 plus 0, which is 3, 4 plus 2, which is 6. And now I can multiply these. So they're the exact same size as these. So this is 2 by 2, this is 2 by 1, which lets me know, yes, I can do it. My result is going to be a 2 by 1. Okay, so my result then is going to look just like this guy, AB. Okay, a 2 by 1, which means that I'm going to do row 1, column 1, and row 2, column 1. Okay, which then row 1, column 1, so 2, 4, line it up next to 3, 6. So 2 times 3 plus 4 times 6. And then the second row times the first column, so negative 5 times 3 plus negative 2 times 6. And if I simplify that down, I get 6 plus 24, so 30. And negative 15 plus negative 12 gives me negative 27. All right, and let's look at this last one here. Okay, so this is quite a bit bigger of a problem. Okay, so here I have 3 rows by 3 columns. And here I have 3 rows by 2 columns. Okay, so my inner numbers match, so yes, I can multiply it. My result is going to be a 3 by 2. So what does that look like, a 3 by 2? A 3 by 2 has 3 rows and 2 columns, so it looks like A, B, C, D, E, F is what we're going to have. So 3 rows, 2 columns. All right, so if we want to set that up, A would be row 1, column 1. B is still in row 1, but it's column 2 now. C is row 2, column 2, or column 1, sorry. D is row 2, column 2. E is row 3, column 1, and F is row 3, column 2. So let's actually start doing the multiplication here. Okay, so row 1, column 1. So row 1 is this, column 1 is this. So I'm going to take the 6, 5, 1 and line it up next to the 2, 3, 0 to give me 6 times 2 plus 5 times 3 plus 1 times 0. Okay, then I'm going to move over to the row 1, column 2. So I'm still going to take this, but I'm going to multiply by the 6, 4, 0. So 6 times 6 plus 5 times 4 plus 1 times 0. Now I'm going to go down to the second row in the first column, so this one right here. So 2 times 3 plus 3 times 3. Oh shoot, this should be 2 times 2. 2 in the 2, 3 in the 3, and then the negative 1 in the 0. Okay, and then I'm going to do row 2, column 2. So row 2 still, so 2, 3, negative 1, and 6, 4, 0. So 2 times 6 plus 3 times 4 plus negative 1 times 0. And then finally row 3, column 1. So row 3, column 1. So 4 times 2 plus 8 times 3 plus 7 times 0. And then finally row 3, column 2. So 4 times 6 plus 8 times 4 plus 7 times 0. And then we're just going to simplify all those numbers down so that we have 12 plus 15 gives me 27. Here I have 36 plus 20, so 56. Here I have 4 plus 9, so 13. Here I have 12 plus 12, so 24. 8 plus 24, so that gives us 32. And then finally 24 plus 24 plus 0, so that'd give me 48. Or sorry, 24 plus 32, so 56. All right, and there is your resulting matrix. All right, that is how you multiply matrices. We will see you next time.